Welcome to the Unaffiliated Creatives Podcast, a show where independent artists can learn from other independent artists. My name is K.A. Everyday, and each week I will be speaking with some of the most creative minds in the indie music space, trying to figure out what they have learned while navigating through the music industry without the support of major record labels. This podcast is brought to you by the good people over at King Neppy Studios and powered by Red Weasel Media. All right, so let me ask you this. So if you had to stop pursuing music for whatever reason, what would you replace it with?
Well, that's real easy. Fashion, media, art. I think the set kind of shows the other things that I'm into. I mean, I'm a creative director, graphic designer. So that's really going into, owning King Neppy Studios, creative director for Red Weasel Media, art direction for Yehuda Heza, and being a designer for Lovers and Art Re-Up and a couple other different brands that I collaborate with from a graphic standpoint. That's really my other, it's music, art, those two things, art being anything visual, anything visual that's creative, whether it be, I'm a photographer, cinematographer, motion graphic artist. So there's a lot, I'm just a creative, period. And the music is always the first love, but if I had to stop doing music, which I hope I would never be in that position, it would definitely just be art, period. Art in whatever genre that it could be involved in, it would be that. It would be definitely art.
Well, you involved in so many things, man. You forgot to say, and you also a podcaster, man. You working on your podcast and stuff too.
I like to think of these as conversations, though. Like it's a. I don't want to give myself another title. I just want to give myself another chance, another opportunity, and I think that this is a way that, I look at it from this standpoint. When I look at SoundCloud and how they want artists to repost other artists, and then the algorithm slows the reach, if we all created our own podcast and set up these audiences, and you got a podcast, I got a podcast, our man got a podcast, and we keep the conversations going daily, there's nothing that they can do to stop us. Right? You don't have, we have the power to get rid of the 360s. We have the power to get rid of the middleman. The young people there are young people doing it every day. Like I discovered a young person today that turned down Rock Nation, and just really stood on his principles and was like, no. But that's what the internet was created to do. The internet was created for David to slay Goliath, right? So that everybody's got an even chance. And yeah, of course, not everybody's gonna step out the gate, with a full set and 5 cameras and all these lights and, but you still can get started, start the conversation, and the more that, and you can't think singular. It's got to be, if you're in a town and all of y'all are together and you're on a music scene, right? That it's important that all of y'all be jumping on each other's platforms, sharing music on each other's platform, making sure that you go to Web 3.0, right? Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't just hinge upon Instagram because you got community guidelines. The moment that you do something that they feel isn't right, they strike you and take your whole audience away from you. Web 3.0, you set the rules, you set the guidelines, and they can't take nothing from you. the problem is just getting people, the 2.0 audience over to 3.0. That's the challenge. But people are being innovative and doing that every day. I'm learning myself. I have people in the space that report back to me, this is what you need to do. But I think everybody should have these kind of conversations and have them on a daily basis and be able to feed the beast and keep their name, keep that content rolling. I think it's content. You can't get wrapped up in the creative side. Once again, I go back, being creative all day and not handling the business. The content is the business. The content gets the audience. The audience is the business.
Or like we always like to say, you got to keep feeding that beast.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I am the most guilty of having my head in the sand, because what always happens is the moment that I tell you, I was like, yo, okay, I'm ready to jump in. That's when somebody pulls the back side of my jacket, like, hey, we got a project for you to work on. We need XYZ. And then I jump back in the rabbit hole. So I kind of get ready to jump out. And it seems like anytime I get ready to release music or anytime I get ready to do something like this, it's the music calls. It's like, and I'm like Pookie and
I think they made a song for this that goes something like, every time I try to leave, something can't come.
Yeah. But that's really what it boils down to. I think that more people need to have these kind of conversations, have them on a daily basis, build your audience up, and share. Because if together we can defeat this construct, because that's what it is, And it was interesting today when I was as I was listening to this interview. This young person was told, don't take it personal. And he said, I don't take it personal, but I take it personal. Like, you don't want me to take it personal from a business standpoint, but I took it personal as you as a person, that's the kind of business that you do. So I understand it as business. I just don't like your business, the way that you do business. And if that's the way you do business, I'm not a fan of you as a business person. So yeah, I took it personal. So I applauded that and loved that he was willing to stand on that. But once again, he had his audience. You can't take that away from him. He had his platform. He's selling his merch. He's doing his shows. What can you do to him? You can't do anything to him. That's the power of the internet. All you got to do is put in work. And when he said they post from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and they post every day and they still posting from content they did in last January, that's incredible. And, he was giving game. And you're never too old to learn something, even if it's like you get wrapped up in everyday life and it's like, these young people doing it. I applaud them for real. Like, get it.
He basically feeding the beast 3 meals a day and dessert.
Yeah.
7 days a week.
Yeah. And it's hard, especially for people like me and you that have access to stuff like this, right? So, and it's important that we use this to get that message out that more people need to do this and that there needs to be more collaboration. And for me, some people will look at it and go, well, why didn't you do a music podcast? But I always tell people, if it doesn't make sense if we a team that all of us doing the same thing. If you're speaking to artists specifically and we have somebody else speaking to producers, I want to speak to designers. I want to speak to, people, other creative people, because what happens in the music industry happens in the art industry, happens in the fashion industry. It happens in the sneaker industry. Like, the bad deals are the bad deals. And until you take back the reins of it, the playing field will always be uneven. We're just blessed enough that we have a media company and we can do what we want to do. But I tell anybody, it's a hard, long road to go down. Some people are like, oh, well, I'm just going to grab a camera and I'm going to do. It's a lot more to it.
Yeah, it is. And I actually wanted to spend a little time to talk about this because I know what some people are thinking when they looking at this set and they looking at how this stuff look. I would say, one, don't get discouraged, and you guys need to understand this process took a long time. We've been doing this for over 10 years. But what I want to tell you guys is don't use that as an excuse. Like, don't use it as an excuse meaning, oh, I don't have, an expensive camera. I don't have a fancy setup, so I'm not going to do anything.
Oh, no,
You have to start somewhere, and over time, once you get started, you will get better, you will hone your craft, and you will come into situations where you will be able to reinvest back into yourself, and then you could get a set that looks like this. We didn't start day one looking like this.
No, but after somebody tried to knock us in the head for $1,500 for a video, that got the wheels turning.
Exactly. You will learn how to shoot a video real quick.
Right.
Yeah.
You want merch, and then you go to the little, to the spot near the mall, or you go to around town and somebody beating you in the head for merch. That was another thing that just kind of opened up my eyes to, like, if I can do the logo work, I didn't need them to do the graphic work. I do my own graphics. So it was like, and you still beating me in the head. It was like, well, how much does this machine cost?
Or you wash it one time and then this thing fall off the shirt.
Right. So it's just like, yo, it's got to be a better way, right? But once again, time, right? Everybody wants everything instant, and not all the time everything is instant. Some things, it just takes time. I had to take a year off to learn screen printing. I had to take a year off to learn audio engineering. Like, it takes time and it takes investment, right? And you just got to chip away at it. I just been blessed that I was able to small victories. I like to put it like that, just small victories. But whatever your imagination is, just take it there. Like, what we sitting in is what I thought of in my mind. I was just like, for me to be comfortable to sit here every day and talk, whether you're here or not here, like, I got to be comfortable. I got to be in my element. And this is my element. And it's about work. Are you going to put in the work? And that's what I would tell anybody. Just put in the work. And then for me, I got to challenge myself to get out the lab, because I'm a lab rat. I'm constantly in the lab. I'm constantly creating art, music, fashion, constantly creating. So I need this outlet to be able to talk to the people. So, and that's why we're doing what we're doing right now.
You got to talk to the people, but sometimes you got to be outside.
I try to get outside. And that's tough too, because as you get older, there's just certain things like, for me, safety, right? I can't be in the streets like I used to when I was younger. I was a wild boy. So, but that's no excuse for not keeping my ear to the street when it comes to music. Like, I'll go to the open mics and stuff like that. But as far as just like what's going on outside, like, Virginia crazy. So I'm not going to be everywhere like that. So, I'm good at the crib. I'm safe at the crib. So,
hey, well, you got a lot of toys here at your disposal. So, I mean, hey, well, why go anywhere else when you could just sit right here and talk to the people every day?
Yeah, my greatest tools is keyboard and Photoshop. Like those are the things that an illustrator, like, just taking time to learn different skill sets and learning different, like, the thing I hate the most, you can quote me on this, I hate asking permission. Like, that burns me alive. Like I don't want to ask permission for nothing. I don't want to ask permission to do music. I don't want to ask permission to do art. I don't want to ask permission to do fashion. I don't want to ask permission to make a prototype, or I don't want to ask permission to create something new or create my own version of something. I want to be able to do it all on my own without anybody's help or, asking for permission. One thing I did learn over time, never, before you blame anybody else, hold yourself accountable first. Because if you would have held yourself accountable in the situation, you would have known what was going on. So at the end result, you're a product of your decisions, not anybody else's decisions. You made a decision to let somebody else's decision lead you. So ultimately, it was your decision. So you got to hold yourself accountable. And for me, I don't want to hold anybody accountable other than myself. And I don't want to ask permission to anybody other than myself, period, point blank.
So what's the other one? When you know better, you do better?
Yeah, when you know better, you do better. So that's just the way I move, always, for real. So.